Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's show. And I have the pleasure of introducing Mr. Lawrence Hicks. He is a retired Air Force colonel. He served for 25 years in combat, and he's currently an executive pastor at Mosaic Church of Central Arkansas. And I was introduced to Lawrence through someone who I consider a mentor. And I am just like you, interested in hearing Lawrence's story. I've heard such wonderful things about him. And he's just a man who loves the Lord and has a heart for helping others. And so, Lawrence, could you please introduce yourself?
Yes, absolutely. First of all, good morning. Thanks for having me on, Valentina. It's such a pleasure and privilege to be here. I've never done one of these before, so this is
You'll
my
do
first
great.
time. So I was kind of nervous in accepting the invitation, but thank you so very much. Um, a little bit about me. I am a native Arkansan from the state of Arkansas, and of course, as you said, served in the military for 25 years, and now I am back in Arkansas after having been retired from the military now for 4+ years.
Okay.
So I grew up in South Arkansas. Grew up on our family farm. I'm a part of the fifth generation of farmers on the same land that our family has owned since the early 1900s,
Wow.
and we still farm. We have a small scale beef cattle operation that we run there, the Circle H family farms, and and that's where I grew up, and that's what shaped and formed me. My mom, my dad, we all lived there. My great grandmother, grandparents, we all lived there on the farm together. So it was a true community and village that really shaped my upbringing. And that's a
Yeah.
huge part of, probably more so than anything else that I've been through, college or military or anything else that shaped who I am.
That's so wonderful. And it's great to hear that you grew up in such an environment where, yeah, your family was there, you all worked together, you all learned and grew together. And that I really admire that. And I desire my future family to be like that.
Mhm.
Oh, that's great. So you mentioned your family haven't impacted you the most. Is there anyone else that you feel like led you to even to pursue the military? How did you go from working with your family to working in the military?
Well, working on the farm, it's hard work, and I don't care what kind of farming you do. If you're doing crops, if you're doing, raising animals, it doesn't matter what it is. It's every single day that you have to care for what you're raising. And growing up, I knew it was hard work. And when I was in my late teens, I said to myself, I don't know if I want to do this for a living. So so I decided to go to college. Didn't know how I was going to pay for college, and heard about this thing called Air Force ROTC. And so I applied for a ROTC scholarship, and that is what helped me to pay for college. Um, and I went to Louisiana Tech University, and after graduation, or as I graduated, was commissioned into the United States Air Force, and I only intended to do a few years and then get out. I had a 4-year commitment, but of course, as you said, I ended up doing over 25. So you and other taxpayers definitely got your money's worth with that scholarship investment. And and that really, and I don't regret a moment of it. I don't regret. The Air Force was very good to me and my family, and it did help to better my life and quality of life and everything. And even after the Air Force, it's still being good to me and my family.
Oh, no, that's great. And I have a great love and respect for the military. My fiance is in the military, and also the Air Force. So I just love all things Air Force, and I thank you for your service. So thinking about your career, your military career, where you were there for over 25 years, like you mentioned, what are some of the things that stood out most to you?
the things that stood out the most, always, the people.
Mm.
Um, I worked several different mission sets, worked in over 37 different countries, did
Wow.
several combat deployments, but it was always the people. That's what really, really stood out. The people that led me and others, the people that I was blessed to be able to work alongside, and even those that I was blessed to lead. It's just some of the greatest relationships and friendships that I have in my life. A
Mm.
lot of folks that I worked with and were in the military, I'm really closer to them than I am to a lot of my family,
Mm.
and they are my family
Mm.
because of all that we went through and experienced together.
Yeah. Wow. So from that experience, like, what were some of the major lessons that you learned? That if you were to summarize it to someone, like, what would you say that the military taught you?
The military, number one, and this is sounds kind of cliche, but it is so very true that if you take care of people, they'll take care of the mission. I learned that early on. I would hear people say it, and then as I grew and became a leader, I found that to be so very true. That if people know that you care for them, they know that we all by default, when we're in uniform, we care for the mission, because we raised our right hand and we swore to support and defend the Constitution of the United States. And so we were all there for the mission, but it wasn't every leader who had the best intentions for the people that they were leading.
Mm.
And if you show that you cared for your people, they would move heaven and earth for you, for the mission, to do what was right, to do, because we had some hard tasks that we had to do, especially like when we were in Iraq and Afghanistan. But if people knew that you cared for them, they knew, and that caring would turn into a trust, so that they would trust you. And I found out that when people knew that you cared and they trusted you, that's when those tough things, when you got into those tough situations, that they would really, really respond, and they wouldn't second guess, they wouldn't question, because sometimes it's like, hey, we got to, and this is just military vernacular, we got to take that hill. Well,
Mm.
the enemy's on that hill. Well, we still got to take that hill,
Yeah.
but we can do it. You're equipped, and and if they trust you, then they will take that hill regardless of the threats that are
Mm.
on that hill or behind that hill, because they trust you as a leader.
Yeah. So how can a leader build or gain that level of trust, and how do they show their employees that they do care about them, but in an authentic way? Because I could imagine someone listening and saying, "Oh, yeah, okay, if I just say the right things or do the right things, it'll cause people to trust me more." But how, like, what have you seen from people who've done it really well, and you clearly have, to those who haven't? Like, what's the differentiator?
Well, it's number one, you can't fake it. It's not something that you can just gin up. You have to really care about yourself, care about your family, care about other people. You have to, those three things, not necessarily in that order all the time, but you have to care, have a genuine heart for that. And there were times when I had to pray and ask God, because there was some of my, subordinates, some of my airmen were hard to love, they were hard to care for, but they were still, it's like having a family member. You don't have a choice. You got your Uncle TJ, who's the one that's always acting crazy at the family reunion. He's still Uncle TJ. You still have to love him. And
Mhm.
it's the same in the military. You still have to learn how to love and care for all of your people. And it's not, like I said, you can't fake it, because people will see through that. And I think that was one of the things that really I wasn't sure when I came in if I could be successful in the military, because I was thinking, oh, I need to have all these technical skills. But after a while, I found out, oh, I just need to take care of these people,
Yeah.
and they'll take care of all these technical aspects. They'll take care of everything. And
Yeah.
so I just learned to do that, and I love to do it. I love to, even when I was in this is one example, I was in a unit, I had 425 personnel in my first command. Um, and every person every year would get a birthday card from me. And it
Aw.
wasn't like I wrote every birthday card to every
Aw.
individual. I would sit down at the beginning of the month and write out those birthday cards, and then my staff would distribute them throughout the month. And there are
Aw.
still people that even today, that was almost 20 years ago when I did that still will say, "Oh man, I still have that birthday card that you gave me
Oh,
in
wow.
2004."
Yeah.
And that was just a small thing, but it showed, that someone cared for them and cared about the small things in their lives, because it's not always about, hey, someone's in the hospital, you're going to see them. Yes, that's what we do. But even the small things that are going on in people's lives, we celebrate with them.
Yeah.
We have joy with them. And even when things are not so good, we cry with them and we hug and hold each other.
Yeah. No, that's so good. And that reminds me of when I was living somewhere else, I had our pastor did the same thing. Our priest, whenever anybody moved into the parish, he would always send out a birthday card to when it was their birthday. And I remember I receiving one, and I was just there I'd only been there for a couple months, and I was like, oh my gosh, he knows who I am. And like, I was a very loyal parishioner, and I got involved in the church because I'm like, wow, like they saw me as a person. So that's so great that you did that, especially for such a large unit that you were leading. Wow. And so when I think about the word or those in the military, I think of the word resilient and being able to problem solve in difficult situations. And that's something that I'm wanting to grow in. So this is kind of a selfish question.
Okay.
Um, what advice would you give to someone wanting to be more resilient? Because I can imagine in your military career, you encountered things that maybe you want to get discouraged, or you probably thought, wow, I don't know how we're going to accomplish this, but yet you kept going. So what advice would you give to someone like me who wants to be more resilient?
Well, and that's a great question, and especially coming, from yourself, as you're about to be a military spouse, who
Mm.
have to be, by definition, some of the most resilient men and women in the world. I used to tell people all the time, they was like, "Oh man, it's so hard to go to Iraq and Afghanistan." I was like, "Yeah, it's kind of hard, but it's harder for the family
Yeah.
that has to stay behind." Because when I deploy, I don't have to worry about where I'm going to eat. I don't have to worry about doing my own laundry. I don't have to worry about paying any bills. I just go and do my job, and they treat us very, very well. So I don't have to worry about all those things. I'm not shuttling kids back and forth to soccer practice. It's the families that are left that have to be super, super resilient.
Yeah.
And I found out that one of the main things, and resilience is not something that you can just gin up from within you. There's some resilience, that is internal in our hearts and our minds, but even more so, I found out that you have to have a good network or support group around you, that can help you to be resilient, that can help you work through problems, that can encourage you, that can give you good advice, that can support you. You have to have that, because I don't care who you are. If you're alone, sometimes you can feel very, very alone if you're out there by yourself, especially when things are tough like that, when your spouse is gone, your fiance is gone, your kids are away. So you have to have that support system around you.
Yeah.
I think about even in nature, nothing in nature really does anything by itself. Birds they fly in a flock. Elephants are in a herd, and they all support each other, and that is a part of their resilience resiliency is the way that they support each other. Now, individually they're strong, but together they're stronger.
Yeah. No, that is so true. And I think that's in contrast to times with like our culture now where it's everybody for themselves. Everyone has to take care of their family and do things on their own. And I just, yeah, hearing you say that is just a good reminder that no, like we're actually not built for that. We're built to be in community, and it's through that support that we're able to become more resilient. So
Exactly.
it makes sense.
Exactly.
So then tell us a little bit about after you retired. You said you've been retired for about 4 years now from the military,
Hmm.
and you're currently an executive pastor. What led you to transition from the military life to working now as a pastor of a church?
Yeah, and that probably seems like two things that don't even, like one career would not lead directly to the other, and that is correct. And I guess I have to back up, a number of years. Even after I had been on active duty for a few years, and I just felt this strong call to do ministry, and I didn't know how to fulfill that at the time. I was like, God, do you want me to get out and go be a pastor? Do you want me to become a chaplain? What do you want me to do? And thankfully, I was able to just continue to serve in the military. But at every base that we were stationed at, I was a part of the chapel. Me and my family we would be a part of the chapel services. We would be our local church sometimes we would be a part of. And I was still able to exercise my giftings and serve, in those chapels and those churches. And we did that for, 20 plus years in the military, my wife and my kids, myself. There were several times where I was almost like an assistant chaplain in the military, where I would provide actual religious services, especially in deployed locations where we didn't have a chaplain. I would fill that role. And then there were some times where I was, at one point in time, I was the senior pastor of a local church at one location. It was a local Baptist church that we were a part of. And the senior pastor had departed, and my family and I, we were there, and for the remainder of our time, they knew we were only going to be there for a limited time, but they said, we would like to call you to be our senior pastor. So
Wow.
I had that opportunity. I was in the Air Force serving Monday through Friday at the base and doing that mission set. And then, nights and weekends, I was a senior pastor. It worked out well.
Yeah.
So after I retired in 2017, I kind of had an idea that I wanted to continue to serve in church. Didn't really know if I was going to, do it full time or anything. But we moved here to Little Rock. My wife got a job here. I was tagging along as a new retiree, and we started coming to Mosaic Church, and I just started volunteering and helping out here at the church, doing some different things. And after about 6 or 8 months, the elders came to me and said, "Hey, we'd like you to become our executive pastor." And I was like, "What?" They were like, "Yeah." I said, this is all we can pay you, but I was like, "Well," I said, "thankfully I'm not, the money is nice." I said, "But I said, whatever you can pay is great. That would be a blessing to me and my family, and hopefully we can bless the church." And so and that was July of 2018 when I came on staff here at Mosaic, and been serving here since. So
Okay.
so some of what I did in the military kind of helped me prepare for this job, because a lot of what I do here, it's still the same things: taking care of people. It's looking after resources in terms of buildings, facilities, the campus. And also budgeting. Money is a huge part of everything that we do in life. So I help to oversee our budget and our budget execution here at the church.
Okay, great. So can you tell us a little bit about Mosaic Church? Because it's very different from any other church that I've heard of. It's, I mean, and just in uniqueness and its mission. Can you share a little bit about it?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Because you had a chance to come
I
to.
haven't. I've only heard about it through a mutual friend of ours, John. So yeah.
Okay, okay. Well, we'll have to have you here sometime soon, because Mosaic is it was founded in 2001 by Mark Demas. You know, God gave him the vision of just planting a church, you know, where people from different backgrounds can walk, work, and worship Jesus Christ together as one. You know, and you know, back then, if I would have been around in 2001, I would have been like, "You're crazy! Ain't no way, black, white, Hispanic, Asian people, you know, all ethnicities are going to be getting together to worship. It's just too much of a hurdle. We all have our preferences, we all have our cultures, and everything. But that's what the church was founded on, and and the church is not only founded on that ethnic diversity, but we also have a socioeconomically diverse church. We have everyone from people who are multi-millionaires to people who live out in the woods behind the church in a tent, who come together on Sunday morning to worship, you know, who come together during the week to help serve the community. So that's part of the beautiful the beauty of Mosaic is just so many different people coming together to serve this underserved community, because we're right in the heart of Little Rock. We're in a economically depressed area. So a lot of what we do is to try to bring access to those not only spiritual programs, but also social programs and economic programs to help uplift this part of the city. And we've been, over the past 20 years, we've been very successful, I would say, because this area that we were in was this corner that we were on was one of the highest crime areas in the city, and crime has gone down more than 30% in this area.
Well, good.
Businesses have moved back in. There was like a 60% vacancy rate around in these commercial properties around us. It's almost 100% filled now, 100% occupied. So it's just been such a turnaround over the last 20 years. And some of the community leaders and developers would tell us, they would say, if Mosaic had not planted a church on that corner, none of that would have happened, because it really gave some stability. And also it just gave people, they said, hey, if the church can be there, you know, maybe we can have a grocery store here. Maybe we can have a hardware store here. So it gave other people a little bit of faith and trust and move into this part of town.
Wow, that's so great. So how, like in total, how has your experience been? It sounds like it's been a very fruitful and joy-filled experience being the executive pastor, but yeah, how would you describe it? You've shared a little bit about the impact that the church has definitely had on the community, which is amazing.
Yeah, it has been it, and you've heard Jesus teach about the shepherd that has the 99 or has the 100 sheep, and the one gets lost, so he leaves the 99 to go find the one. Yeah. Well, Mosaic has taught me how to pastor the 99, and it's also taught me how to pastor the one. I was, you know, and most leadership that you, and I don't care whether you're a pastor in the military or what it is, leadership courses, theory, and everything, it kind of teaches you how to look after the group, the 100 or the 99, but it very rarely tells you how to go after the one. And that's what I have learned here at Mosaic, is how to go after the one at times, because sometimes that's what it is. It's sometimes your sole mission for that day, for that week, that month, is to reach out and try to not necessarily save one person. And that's also something else I've had to learn. We don't save anyone. Jesus does that. But we just have to give people the opportunity. We love on them. If they're hungry, we feed them. If they're thirsty, we give them water. If they need medical attention, we get them that. Whatever they need, we get that, help them to get that. And in turn, what that does is that gives that person another chance. It gives them another day. It keeps their breath, keeps them breathing, keeps their heart beating, and it gives them another chance, maybe another day to accept Christ, because it may not happen that day, it may not happen that week, you may not see it, but what you have done has helped to better that person, and you don't know what you're just planting seeds basically. So that is what Mosaic has taught me here over the past few years, is how to be the shepherd to that one and sometimes that one is all I can handle.
Yeah.
When you were really down and we live in a gritty part of town, and sometimes that one person or that one family for a period of time is all you have the bandwidth to really to go after and help. And that's okay, because at that point in time, that's what God needs you to do.
Yeah. Gosh, and to that point, Lawrence, when you mentioned what you would do in the military, where you would send a birthday card to each person, like they were both the 99 and the one, and just I truly believe what you've experienced and learned from the military is coming bearing fruit in how you minister today. So thank you for recognizing the one and the whole. So just as a final question, what advice would you give to someone who is unsure as to what to do and what correct direction they should go into in their life? Because you mentioned while you were working, working in the military, you felt a little bit torn, like, do I go into ministry? Do I not? Do I wait? And then God opened the door where you're able to do both. If someone is like in a similar position in terms of, do I follow what's on my heart, or do I focus on what's paying the bills right now? And trying to discern that, what advice would you give to them?
I would say yes. Because and I say that jokingly because that is what I did. I just kind of, because a lot of times it's not, and we think God is forcing us to choose, and it's a either or, and it's not always an either or. Sometimes it's a both and that's what it was for me. It was a both and actually, I didn't mention this, but God was using all that time that I was in the military, was able to minister at different places around the world, be a part of different ministries, experience so many different methods and ways of worshiping and ministry. All that prepared me for where I am now, at this point in time. If I had gotten out of the military, I would have had left so many experiences on the table that God wanted me to go through to further develop me, because I'm not a seminary graduate. I didn't go to seminary, went to Bible college for just a short period of time. But a lot of the way that I minister is just from my experiences that God has let me go through. And some of those experiences came from things that I wanted to do, and some of it came from things that God was leading me to do. Those things, some of those things He put into my heart, and it's not. I guess I would say this: it is not always. Sometimes it is where God is telling you to do like Abraham. Hey, leave your people, leave your country, go someplace else, and I'm going to show you. But there are some times where He's using where you are right now just as a kind of a bridge or a pathway to get you to where He wants you to be, and it's just a part of the journey, And I was always looking at the destination, but I was very rarely looking at the steps of the journey. Yeah. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step, basically. And sometimes we don't look at each individual step as being important, but they are. So it doesn't matter if you're starting or if God has definitely, sometimes He puts something in our hearts to where we're like, hey, I want you to be leading this ministry, this church or whatever. And hey, go after that. Go after what God has put into your heart. But sometimes he it's kind of fuzzy, and that's when you kind of have to walk just that one step at a time, and that's what I did, kind of unintentionally,
Yeah.
because there were some times where I was just thinking, God, it's time to leave this Air Force thing and go do what you want me to do. And I think I still remember in Afghanistan one Sunday, God was said, you are doing exactly what I want you to do. You are exactly where I want you to be, you know. So it's not a either or, it was a both and for me.
Yeah. So it sounds like part of the process, well, one, remembering that it's a process, and then also to just listen and ask the Lord that question, like, am I where you want me to be? And if not, like, help me get on the path of where you want me to go.
Right.
So,
yeah. It looks different for everybody.
Yeah. Well, Lawrence, thank you for your time. It's been really fascinating hearing your story. And I guess I just want to leave it up to you. Are there any final things any question that I didn't ask you that you're like, oh, this would have been a really good story if you just asked?
No, I feel like I've talked plenty. I feel like, but I've enjoyed this conversation. Thank you so much for inviting me, and so nice to meet you and share with you.
Well, I've enjoyed it too. So thank you so much for your time today. It was really wonderful hearing your story, and God bless you and your work at your church and with all the people that you'll continue to impact. And thank you all for listening today. I hope you enjoyed hearing Lawrence's story and it encouraged you to continue to listen to God and the desires he's placed on your heart. Thank you. See you next time.